Well, a very, very good morning to you. This is Talk the Home of Common Sense. I'm Julia Hartley-Brewer. Claire Pearce also with me. We're joined by Deputy Leader of Reform UK and Reform MP, Richard Tice, in the studio. Very good morning to you.
Very good morning to you.
You're looking very, very chipper and happy. I wonder whether that's got anything to do with this latest YouGov poll, which, for the first time in a major poll, certainly YouGov, we've got Reform ahead, not just of the Tories, but ahead of Labour as well. We've got Reform on 25, Labour on 24, and the Tories languishing behind on 21. So congratulations to you on that. That said, long way off a general election.
Yeah, long way off, but look, we've got the momentum.
No, but it's within, you know,
it's within the realms. But what people are starting to realise is that actually a Tory vote is a wasted vote, and it's splitting the vote. So actually what they should really start to recognise now, as they start to run out of money, all sorts of rumours about that, is that maybe they need to stand aside and let Reform, we've got the momentum, you know, we've got to turn this around because the country's in a terrible state, worse than ever, under this disastrous Labour government.
I mean, I have to say, I don't think there'll be many in our audience who don't agree with you in terms of the disastrous state the country is in. There is still this ongoing concern from many on the centre-right, people on the just anywhere right of Labour, which of course makes us all Genghis Khan to them, obviously, that actually the split vote on the right means that, realistically, Labour are going to get in again with yet another big majority, because those votes are going to be divided and Labour will get in, and maybe if they've got lower votes, coalition with Lib Dems or others. And a lot of people, certainly the Tories, blame you guys for that.
Oh, but they can't now, because actually we're some way ahead of them now, and they're going to drift downwards. We're going to keep the momentum, keep going up. So this is all going to turn. And look, there's a long way to go. Competition's a good thing. We're not in any way complacent. But we've got May elections where we're allowed them this May. Obviously, many we're not. They're going to be cancelled.
Well, they're going to be delayed because they're changing the structure of the councils.
Well, ish. But
I think you and Nigel Farage are making rather too much of this. This isn't an affront to democracy. You don't
cancel elections unless you're a dictator. You should have those elections as opposed to delaying them 1 year, or is it 2 years?
Spending hundreds of millions of pounds on elections, which you're only going to elect somebody for another year before, or 6 months before another council.
Supposedly so, we're told, but it's all changed rather quickly. Do you trust them? We don't. One iota. Anyway, the point is we've got May elections. That's the big electoral test, moving towards the devolved nation elections next May 26, and we're working very hard both in Wales and making great progress in Scotland, where last poll I saw just had us just 1% behind Labour, no less.
Why do you think that you are ahead, not just of Labour? And again, you know, we've got, you know, there's a margin of error about 6 points either side, so it's all, you know, much for muchness, but nevertheless, it is significant. Why do you think you're ahead of the Tories?
Because basically they failed us. They broke Britain. Nothing worked. They promised one thing. They did exactly the opposite on taxes, on mass immigration. And people are furious because our country is poorer. Everybody is worse off. And the nature of mass immigration has put huge unsustainable pressure on public services, on our prosperity. And people have had enough, and they won't forgive and they won't forget.
Any sign of that money coming from Elon Musk? Even though you've not changed.
Good question. I'll ring the Treasurer afterwards and find out. No, look, at the end of the day, we're getting donations from our members, which is the key thing. Our membership now over 190,000. And so, look, we've got a broad base of donors. All political parties are always fundraising within.
Have you got a load of Tory donors who've come over?
Well, that's the interesting thing, yes, because at the end of the day, no one likes to donate to a party they can see is actually going down and is losing. So there's a big shift in the attitude of former Tory donors.
Let's talk about something that's happening today. Angela Rayner is convening a council on Islamophobia to define an official definition of Islamophobia in this country, bearing in mind that an all-party group which came up with a definition of Islamophobia in 2018, led by Wes Streeting, also in the cabinet. They came up with a definition completely accepted, you know, all in all forms by the Labour Party, which stated Islamophobia is rooted in racism and is a type of racism that targets expressions of Muslimness or perceived Muslimness. That would, of course, include, you know, perceived Muslim dress, veils and head coverings and the like. What do you make of this? Should we have a definition of Islamophobia, or do we already have one?
Definitely not. Where does it start? Where does it stop? Do you want Christophobia? Do you want Sikhophobia? Forget it. This is a made-up word which is deliberately designed to prevent any form of debate, discussion, criticism of the Islamic faith, and it's designed to scare people, and it's designed to suppress debate, and that's a very, very bad thing in an open democracy like our own. No one should be offensive to religions, and you know, we shouldn't be it's
wait a second, aren't people allowed to be offensive?
You can be offensive, but you can offend. But to do it gratuitously, for example, is very unfortunate. But to say that
should it be criminalised?
No, it shouldn't be criminalised because that's not who we are. It's just not something I would do, and I don't think most rational people...
No, but that's it. No, I would never dream of burning someone's sacred text. However, I would defend someone else's right to do it.
You don't go out to offend people, but this is a deliberate attempt by the Labour Party to shore up their vote from many people of the Islamic faith. I tell you what, that is changing. We are getting a lot of support from hard-working, aspirational, peace-loving, community-contributing Muslims up and down the country who are saying, we came here legally, we're working here legally, and we're fed up with the illegal migration.
And I was also fed up with the extremist ideology which is being perpetrated by so-called self-appointed community leaders who are often pushing a very different agenda.
That's right, and that tiny, tiny percentage, of course, does so much damage to the people I've just mentioned, those who are actually working hard in their communities and doing the right thing.
Let's talk about tariffs. Donald Trump announced these tariffs, 25% on Mexico and on Canada, 10% on China. Within hours of them about to be coming into force for Mexico and Canada, deals were done, pleasant, very friendly telephone calls were done. Donald Trump has proclaimed this victory, although actually an awful lot of the stuff that has been agreed by Mexico and by Canada was actually stuff that was already on the cards. China, though, 5 o'clock this morning, UK time, those tariffs came into force. China has gone, right, we're retaliating. Are we about to enter a tariff war that could... Lots of people think, well, it's happening over there and over there on the other side of the world. It's going to impact all of us and make goods that we rely on more expensive. Are you still supporting your big mate Donald Trump in that?
Absolutely. I think President Trump has had a fantastic start, and he uses tariffs as a negotiating tool to negotiate on behalf of American citizens. That's his job, literally, and he said he was going to do it, and he does it. And things are changing. And people
tariffs make goods more expensive for the American people when the Chinese withhold vital minerals and vital supplies which the whole world relies on. That hits all of us.
We hear all of this economic theory.
It's not economic theory.
Hang on, Julie. He's using it as a negotiating tool, right, to promote American interests and to try and get better deals with people.
I thought you were reform. You're in favour of free trade.
I'm not in favour of abusive...
You're in favour of free trade and high tariffs.
Julia, hear me out.
Which is it?
I'm not in favour of abusive dumping of Chinese steel here in the UK made to completely different standards from the great British steel made in Port Talbot or Scunthorpe. That's the sort of thing...
Well, that's subsidised by the Chinese, which they're not supposed to be doing.
That's right. But at the end of the day, Trump is using tariffs as a negotiating tool. He wants his borders protected.
No, I just want to clarify. No. So you're in favour of free trade, except when tariffs are used as a negotiating tool by your big mate Trump.
Hang on. Isn't the role of any no, Julia, the role of any leader...
the reasons you wanted to get out of the EU is so we could have free trade.
The role of any leader...
So we wouldn't have to pose tariffs on goods coming into us from outside the EU. But if Donald Trump does it, it's fine.
No, the whole point of free trade is you negotiate trade agreements to remove tariffs because you think... But you only negotiate...
Because tariffs are bad, aren't they?
Because you only do it if it works for you, which is why you do partial trade deals. Because sometimes you have different standards, sometimes it doesn't work for you.
You need to protect vital industries.
And sometimes you've got to protect vital interests, like our farming and like our steel industry, because it's strategically, nationally important.
Do you think we're going to get tariffs from the United States?
Well, let's
Donald Trump has said we're kind of in some middle ground.
The joy of Brexit, of course, is that actually he might put tariffs on the EU, but as he said briefly on the TV, he said the UK looks like a different situation.
If he puts tariffs on the EU and the EU retaliates, we will be caught in the middle, and our British people will have to pay the impact. The impact of tariffs is that consumers, my audience, your voters, Labour voters, will all have to pay more for stuff they need to buy.
Well, let's wait and see, shall we? Let's see what happens. There's no guarantees that he's going to put tariffs on UK goods. We do have, of course, the US is our biggest single trading partner, has our biggest
country. It's the biggest country. As a bloc, the EU is a bigger trading partner.
Yeah, but that's made of many countries. They are a single biggest trading partner as a nation, and our most important in terms of investment. So let's wait and see. But at the end of the day, the leader of our country should be negotiating on behalf of the UK and think of UK citizens, what's right for us first, and take everything in the round. And that's the point that Donald Trump does, and that's what our Prime Minister should be doing. And I'm afraid, cozying up to a failing recessionary model of the EU is the wrong thing for Starmer to do.
Well, I mean, certainly, I think my audience and I would certainly agree on that. We talked about that on the show yesterday, particularly cozying up to sort of carbon rules that the EU has got. What do you make of that?
Well, it's completely the wrong thing to go. We've got the highest electricity prices, and we've got
in the world,
the lunacy of what I call net stupid zero, which is increasing bills, it's increasing our cost of living. We'll scrap all of that. And here's breaking news, Julia. Martin Lewis, trusted consumer champion, has just confirmed that actually the average expected increase for the electricity price cap in April is going to go up another 5%.
That's Ofgem,
that's the Ofgem for the energy regulator for the price cap on electricity bills. That would mean 16% higher than last summer. What that means is actually the proof's in the pudding. Renewables are not cheaper, they're more expensive, and Ed Miliband is misleading the whole nation. When are the bills going to come down, Julia?
Well, it's interesting because even the boss of GB Energy can't presume to predict when that's going to happen. Just finally, I want to ask you about this horrific school stabbing yesterday. Not just, I mean, it's bad enough it's on a bus on the way home or in the street on the way home. We've seen kids being stabbed to death only the last few weeks on that. It's bad enough, obviously we saw the Axel Rudakabana. He wanted to go and stab kids in his high school, instead chose a dance class. I mean, just awful, awful story. Yesterday, a 15-year-old boy was stabbed to death inside his school. Another 15-year-old boy is under arrest on suspicion of murder. We understand from the police that the school was in lockdown only a week ago. In lockdown, kids hiding under their desks, locked in their classrooms because of the threat of violence from a group of children. Now, there's an awful lot going around the internet. There's stuff that obviously we can't say on air because we don't want to prejudice if charges are brought and any future trial, and it does involve a 15-year-old. But it does appear that a child was able to bring a knife into school and was also then able possibly to bring a knife into school on a second occasion. What do we do about this?
It's horrific, and it's a symptom of what's happening in our society. There's no fear, there's no deterrent, and it's now cool to carry a knife. In the same way, I'm afraid, in America, it's cool to carry a gun. And we've got to clamp down. There has to be a full deterrent. And in fairness, some schools previously, they had scans, metal detector scans that children were walking through. Really, I mean, horrendous.
I think if you need to have a
but
metal
if you need
detector,
to have it, you need to have it.
I think if you need to have it, then you send your kid to a different school.
What a terrible indication of the failure of our society that that's where it's ending up. It's horrific.
Indeed. Very much appreciate you joining us. Richard Tice, Deputy Leader of Reform UK.